My name is Celeste Harrow. I'm 34. The mistake I made was thinking being the youngest meant I'd be protected. In this family, being the youngest meant being the most expendable. The wind howled like it was mourning something. Or someone. I pressed my baby tighter against my chest as the front door slammed shut behind me, the deadbolt clicking like a gun being cocked. My hospital gown flapped open beneath the oversized coat I barely had time to grab. Snow blew sideways, stinging my face like needles. Charlotte whimpered in my arms, 3 days old, barely a voice, already thrown out like trash. I told you, Celeste. My father's voice had echoed a moment earlier, low and cold. We have reputations to protect. You've embarrassed us enough. You're kicking me out? In a blizzard. My voice cracked. It's not personal, he lied. Then why does it feel like murder? They didn't answer. They just watched me leave, like I was a package being returned to sender. It had started 48 hours earlier. The hospital discharge papers were signed too quickly. No ride home from the family driver. My father's mistress, Ariella Maris, showed up in my hospital room instead of my sister. Red lips, black coat, crocodile smile. Time's up, Celeste, she said softly. You're not the only one with a claim to this family. I didn't understand it then. But now, stumbling through the snow toward a darkened street, my legs still numb from the C-section, I realized this wasn't abandonment. It was a plan. I found shelter in the back of a closed gas station, its garage door unlocked by some forgotten chance. The snow didn't follow me in, but the cold did. My fingers shook as I wrapped Charlotte in hospital blankets. You'll be warm soon, baby. I promise. Lying to her felt worse than the betrayal. I texted Holland, my closest friend, a paralegal who never did believe in the Harrow family's charity facade. They kicked me out. Blizzard. Me and Charlotte. Holland, tell me where you are. I'm coming now. Don't sleep. I looked down at Charlotte's tiny, red face. She blinked slowly, her breath fogging my skin. Don't sleep. The next morning, I was in a downtown clinic. Holland had found me half frozen. My lips blue, baby near hypothermia. You need to file charges, the nurse said. This is child endangerment. Against my father? I whispered. They'll arrest a stranger for less. I didn't reply. I just stared at the snow falling outside the window, feeling like I was watching my old life melt away. Holland pulled out a folder from her bag and pushed it toward me. This isn't just about cruelty, she said. It's about money. Inside were legal documents, real estate transfers, company shares, a sale of Davenport Holdings assets, signed 2 days ago, with my name forged at the bottom. My stomach flipped. My grandfather. He wouldn't. Holland cut me off. Celeste, he died 6 hours after you were thrown out. I'm sorry, but this is a war. They buried him quietly. No press release. No funeral. Not even a family gathering. I wasn't invited, but I was watching. I stood at a distance, hidden behind black glass in a parked car across from the chapel. My half-brother Drake stood beside Ariella like he was the heir apparent. My sister Marla, eyes red, avoided every camera. And then I saw the lawyer, Martin Vexley. He had been my grandfather's right hand for decades. And he wasn't crying. He looked worried. That's when I knew. There was something in the will they were hiding. A week later, I got the call. Private number. 1 sentence. He left it all to you. Then the line went dead. I stood alone in the back of a rundown motel room, staring at a sealed envelope slid under my door. Inside, a USB drive, a notarized copy of the last will and testament of Winston Davenport, and a handwritten note. Celeste, if you're reading this, they've made their move. But you are my heir. All of it, Davenport Global, the assets, the power. Use it wisely, or destroy them. I laughed once, dry bitter. Then I plugged in the drive and watched my family's empire begin to crack. They thought they erased me, but they forgot the most dangerous people are the ones who've already lost everything. I wasn't out in the cold anymore. Now I was watching. From the inside, the USB buzzed warm in my hand. 2 files. One labeled WD Final Will Private. The other, Protocol Undersigned v3.locked. I clicked the will first. And there it was. My name. My full name. Celeste Eleanor Harrow Davenport. He left it all to me. Not a share. Not a stipend. Not a gesture. All of it. I couldn't breathe. Then the page shifted. Legal addendum. If beneficiary is deceased or declared mentally unstable, estate reverts to interim corporate trustees. No names listed. But I knew exactly who they were. The knock came fast. 3 raps. Sharp. Not polite. Joanna didn't wait for me to move. She pushed into the motel room. Trench coat flaring. Her breath fogging up her glasses. You opened it. I nodded. He named me. I know. Her tone was dry. She didn't sit. Just dropped a manila folder on the desk. Red tab. Confidential seal. Then what is this? I asked. She peeled her gloves off. Your death certificate. My stomach nodded. I reached for it with shaking fingers. Filed under Cook County Records Office. Signed by a Dr. Nolan Graves. Time of death, 4:12 a.m. Cause, postpartum complications. Witness, Marla Harrow. They tried to erase me. No, she said. They did. You're legally dead. The room shrank around me. I paced, holding Charlotte tight, as Joanna laid out the facts with surgeon-like precision. Every word sliced. They filed for custody of Charlotte 5 hours after the death. They transferred the remaining 3% of Davenport Global shares from Winston's personal vault. They sealed all public press about Winston's passing, citing privacy in grief. They kept everything quiet, because they knew I wasn't dead. They were just waiting until I was too broken to fight. Joanna poured whiskey into 2 coffee cups. One for her. One she left untouched. I didn't drink it. Who is Graves? I asked. Not just a doctor. He's the medical director at Halwell Recovery Institute. The place they sent my mother. Joanna nodded. I flinched. I didn't know her well. Leona Dane. She vanished when I was 8. They told me she died. Car crash. Unidentified. I believed them. But now the cracks were loud. You knew, I said quietly. I suspected, Joanna admitted. But suspicion doesn't hold up in court. You were her lawyer. I was also bound by a gag order. Until now. She passed me a second folder. Photos. Scans. Legal memos. Leona in a white room. Bruises. Shackles. Eyes burning through one-way glass. She wasn't crazy, Joanna whispered. She was silenced. I leaned against the motel dresser. My knees buckled. Charlotte stirred in her blanket. She signed guardianship, I whispered. To me. Joanna's gaze sharpened. Not in that will, she said. But there's a second clause. An encrypted codicil. That's Protocol Omega. I looked at the locked file. I need to open it. You need clearance, Joanna said. Your biometric print. And one last unlock phrase. Something only your mother would have told you. I don't remember anything. You need to. Charlotte cried. I reached for my phone to silence the buzz. Not a call. A text. No number. You had your moment. Stay dead. Attached was a photo. Charlotte. In the motel. Today. The angle was over my shoulder. The phone slipped from my fingers. Joanna grabbed it before it hit the ground. Her face blanched. They know you're alive. We were in the car. 5 minutes later. No headlights. No noise. We drove to an underground garage downtown. Unmarked. Keycard access. Surveillance dead. Inside concrete walls. No cameras. Just a steel door and rows of boxes with numbers, not names. Joanna opened box 22. Inside, my mother's old jewelry, a sealed envelope marked CH, and a flash drive shaped like a wolf. Why a wolf? I asked. Leona had a saying, Joanna murmured. She said, you don't cage wolves. You chain them just long enough to forget they're predators. We plugged the wolf drive into her laptop. A code prompt appeared. Voice recognition required. Joanna looked at me. I hesitated. Then I whispered. She used to sing to me. At night. Just 3 notes. E-flat. G, B-flat. Joanna pressed record. I hummed it. The screen flickered. Access granted. Inside a single video. Leona. Gaunt. Pale. Strapped to a chair. Celeste, she said. If you're seeing this, they've won. But only for now. They'll come for your name, your mind, your child. Don't let them. Take the second will. Show it. But don't trust the first lawyer. Not even Martin. Especially not Martin. Joanna hissed. The feed cut. My pulse pounded. She knew. She always knew, Joanna said. A silence hung in the bunker. Then I said out loud, if I'm not legally married. Joanna turned slowly. Then Nova's legally unprotected. And the divorce papers they gave me? Never signed. Never filed. Never real. Which means I was never his wife. And Nova is a pawn without rights. They didn't need to kill me. They just needed me erased. And now they're erasing her. Rain. Cold. Sharp. Wrong for December. But it hit the pavement outside the probate courthouse like bullets. Each drop a metronome, counting down the moment they erased me for good. I sat in a parked SUV across the street. Hood up. Child asleep in the back. Heart in my throat. Joanna leaned forward from the driver's seat. Derek filed a motion. Says you signed a power of attorney 2 weeks before the birth. I didn't. He has your signature. Forged. She pulled a thin document from the center console. 1 page. My name scrawled in tight script. Legal. Notarized. Signed by Nolan Graves. This man just won't stay in his lane, I muttered. Because it's not about medicine. It's about power. Inside the courthouse, the Harrows smiled for cameras. Marla's coat was Valentino. Derek had a new haircut. Ariella looked like a widow before anyone had died. Their faces screamed, we're still in charge. But behind them a young assistant tripped. And for a fraction of a second, a folder slipped from his arms. Enough to flash a stamp I hadn't seen in a decade. AMC Internal Archives. Joanna whispered, do you know what that is? It's not public, I said. It's locked behind medical litigation codes. No judge would let that in unless someone breaks it wide open. Cut scene. We followed the assistant 3 blocks. He went into a glass tower off Wabash. Security scan. Level 14. Private elevator. I pull my hoodie low. How fast can you get me a badge? Joanna smirked. 15 minutes. Tension crawled up my spine. You're enjoying this? No, she said. But I've waited 10 years to bury them legally. You just lit the match. We got in at 9:14 p.m. The elevator hummed like a beast holding its breath. Joanna hacked the panel. I kept the flashlight low. Charlotte stayed wrapped tight to my chest, small and silent like she knew the stakes. AMC Archives. Row 11. Cabinet D. We found it. Inside files. Photos. Court petitions. Audio logs. And 1 envelope, sealed in red wax, labeled Leona, Dane, Patient 0483, NON compliant. I opened it, and everything stopped. A psychiatric assessment, signed by Graves, diagnosing her with delusional paranoia. No second opinion. No consent. No legal representative. But in the margin, scribbled in faint blue pen. She knows. About the trust. About Omega. They want her gone. My mother wasn't sick. She was silenced. The building lights flickered. Joanna spun. We need to go. Now. What? There's motion on the service stairwell. How would they know? Her voice went cold. Because they were watching for this. This wasn't a mistake. This was bait. I stuffed the envelope into my coat. We ran. Alarm. Elevator lockout. Door jammed. Joanna smashed the panel with her shoe. Sparks flew. Charlotte whimpered. Stay with me, baby. Stay with me. We exited through a maintenance stairwell. For floors down, we hit the alley. A black town car waited across the street. Inside, a silhouette. Not Derek. Not Ariella. Someone else. Joanna yanked me behind a dumpster. They're escalating. What does that mean? It means this isn't about money anymore. We circled the block, ducked into a pharmacy, then into the underground garage where our SUV waited. But the trunk was open, and inside, a manila folder we didn't leave. Joanna picked it up with her sleeve. Inside, a printed photo. Charlotte, cradled in my arms, taken from above, from the fire escape. Every mother has a price. I swallowed bile. My phone vibrated. Unknown number, nice chase. Bad ending. Attached, a screenshot of a legal motion. Filed under State of Illinois versus Celeste Harrow. Allegation, psychological instability, maternal unfit status, motion to remove custody, hearing set, 72 hours from now. Joanna whispered, They're doing to you what they did to her. I shook my head. No, they're doing worse. I stared at the motion. My name, my daughter, a courtroom. 3 days. That's all I had. 3 days before I lost everything again. Unless I found what my mother left hidden. Unless I found the Omega clause. The courthouse clock struck 6. Cold light. Hard angles. Everything in this city looked like it wanted to bite. 3 days until the hearing. 3 days until they took Charlotte. I didn't have time to breathe. Joanna slid a burner phone across the table in her cabin. We need the handwritten will. The one your grandfather kept off the books. Where? She hesitated. Harrow Ridge. My chest tightened. My father's estate. The place they threw me out from. The place they tried to let me die. Cut scene. We drove with headlights off, following an old logging road hidden beneath iced branches. The ridge rose like a shadow. Floodlights swept the grounds. Security cameras blinked red. Place looks like a prison, I muttered. It always was, Joanna replied. She cracked a lockbox under her seat. Inside, a slim black tablet, schematics of the estate, and a single quote scribbled on a note. When the world corners you, corner it back. Fitting. Basement vault is here. Joanna tapped the screen. Biometric lock. But Winston put in a fail-safe only bloodline can trigger. So me. And unfortunately also Drake, your father, and Ariella. I swallowed the irritation. Let's get this over with. We crawled through the tree line, knees crunching frost. A motion sensor blinked. We froze. A guard walked past, flashlight sweeping. Joanna signaled. 3-2 now. We sprinted to the side entrance. Cut scene. Inside, the air smelled like pine polish and old secrets. I pressed a palm to the wall panel. A soft beep. Door unlocked. The fact that you can do that, Joanna whispered, should terrify them. It will. The basement hall was darker than I remembered. A single bulb flickered above the vault door. My pulse synced with the flicker. Ready? Joanna asked. No, I said honestly, but I'm going anyway. I placed my hand on the scanner. Green light. Vault hissed open. Inside, drawers, binders, sealed envelopes. And in the center, an iron box with a brass plate. WD, Private Holdings. I lifted the lid. documents, photos, letters, and at the bottom, a thick envelope. The handwriting my grandfather's. Codicil, revised will, handwritten. My breath hitched. Then, the metallic click of a shotgun behind me. Cut scene. Step away from the box. Derek, his face gaunt, eyes bloodshot, hands shaking around the barrel. You shouldn't have come back, he whispered. I stepped forward. You're pointing a gun at the mother of your child. Charlotte was never supposed to be yours, he rasped. You were a placeholder, a convenience. Hurt, sharp and familiar, but I didn't let it land. You forged my signature on the power of attorney, I said. You filed me dead. You filed for custody. Why? He blinked. Something cracked in his expression. It wasn't me. What? You think I could orchestrate this? You think I'd be that smart? He laughed once, bitter. She said it would be easier if you were gone. Cold ran through my bones. He looked over my shoulder, terrified. Ariella? I asked. He shook his head. No. Marisol. Cut scene. Joanna lunged. Derek fired. The shot cracked the vault wall. Plaster exploded. I ducked behind a cabinet, heart thundering. Joanna grabbed a glass shard from a broken frame, slammed it into Derek's arm. He screamed. Gun dropped. I kicked it aside. He fell to his knees, bleeding, panting. You don't understand, he groaned. Marisol's been planning this for years. Before we met. Before you had Charlotte. She wants the trust. She wants the name. She wants. He choked on his breath. She wants to erase you like she erased your mother. The world tilted. My mother. Not dead by chance. Dead by design. Sirens blared across the estate. Security stormed down the hallway. Joanna grabbed the handwritten will, stuffed it inside her coat. Move! We sprinted up the back stairwell. Derek's shouts echoed behind us, calling guards to close exits. A door slammed ahead. Another guard. I barreled forward, slammed my shoulder into him, shoved him aside. Joanna hot-wired the back door panel. Snow blasted in. We ran into the dark woods, branches clawing at our coats. Cut scene. 10 minutes later, breathless, frozen, we reached the SUV hidden between pines. I climbed in with Charlotte cradled to my chest, shaking from adrenaline. Joanna started the engine. You got it? I asked. She pulled the envelope from her coat. I got it. I exhaled for the first time. What does it say? I whispered. She opened it. Eyes widened. Celeste, this isn't naming you as heir. What? She handed it to me. My grandfather's words stared back. All holdings, liquid and non-liquid, to be transferred to Nova Celeste Harrow. My daughter. Not me. A second clause. Guardianship shall remain with Celeste unless she is incapacitated or proven negligent by documented evidence. My blood ran cold. The custody trial, the death certificate, the forged medical record, the entire setup. They didn't need me dead. They just needed me disqualified. The snow outside blurred as the SUV sped away. They were never after me, I whispered. They were after Nova. And now I knew the truth. They didn't need me dead, just childless. The plan was simple. Expose everything. Public. Live. No hiding. No backdoors. No merci. I stood in the makeshift studio, lights high, camera warm, hands cold around the mic stand. Charlotte slept in a car seat beside me, fragile and unaware of what was coming. 2 minutes. 7 million people. No turning back. Joanna whispered into my earpiece, You good? I swallowed. Born ready. You said once. Truth detonates shadows. Let's light this up. I squared my shoulders. Red recording light blinked. Good evening. I began, voice calm but firm. I'm Celeste Harrow. And if you're watching right now, then everything they tried to bury has just exploded. No fluff. No hesitation. The sound of fingers tapping keyboards crackled through my earpiece, my small team in Chicago feeding the stream to global networks. I went straight for the heart. Here's the timeline. Snapshot, my forged death certificate. Cut. Snapshot, Nikki Harrow's custody motion. Cut. Snapshot, forged power of attorney. Cut. Hundreds of thousands of viewers spiked. I displayed the document I found in Harrow Ridge. Leona Dane's handwritten will. The crowd gasped. Not in person. In millions of hearts. 2 staffers in the control room stared wide-eyed. That's the codicil clause, Joanna whispered to them. I quoted something my mother once said. Only I didn't know I remembered until that moment. Truth isn't an ember meant to warm us. It's a blast meant to free us. I pointed at the screen. Everything they've done, it was all engineered to strip me of legal guardianship of my daughter. Not just money, my child. Millions in shock. But I wasn't done. Then the power flickered. Cut scene. Studio lights sputtered. Static buzzed. The feed didn't die, but the control room lit up with red alerts. I heard voices had to be outside. Gunfire. Sharp. Chaotic. One bullet shattered the glass behind me. Camera jolted. Cut to reaction, my eyes wide, breath short. Joanna ducked beside me. She hissed. They breached the perimeter. I went to blackout mode, hand steady despite the panic in my chest. Joanna grabbed my arm. Nova now. That was their target. Not the documents. Not the exposure. My daughter. A second shot rang. And that's when the screen split. Split into 2 frames. 1, me crouched low. 2, live feed from outside the studio. A masked man, walking toward the building with a rifle. Behind him, 2 Harrow security trucks. My blood ran cold. But the broadcast still streamed. Millions watching. This wasn't just an attack. It was a statement. Then another message popped up on my phone. No caller ID. Just text. Nice broadcast. Now you lose custody. Attached. A motion filed under State of Illinois versus Celeste Harrow. Allegation, maternal instability. Endangerment during broadcast. Hearing scheduled in 72 hours. I blinked. That was the trap. They baited me. And now they'd weaponized my visibility against me. Joanna whispered into the mic, without turning off the broadcast. They're about to make you their final exhibit. But I wasn't done yet. I reached under my coat and pulled out the backup drive. This, I told the camera, is the truth that not even they can delete. The studio door burst open. Black boots. Weapons raised. And then, a siren outside. Not Harrow security. Not local cops. Federal. Department of Justice. Agents in Navy gear, badges gleaming. Celeste Harrow, one called over the chaos. This is the FBI. Step away from the camera. Confusion rippled through the studio. But their presence was proof. Someone up the chain had been watching. Someone higher than Harrow. One agent grabbed the drive from my hands. No sudden moves, he said. I froze. Charlotte started to stir. The moment stretched, a heartbeat. Then, you're under protective custody, he said. But not for what you think. I blinked. Explain. He nodded to a screen in the corner. Live feed from outside. The masked shooter was cuffed. Behind him, piles of evidence bags. And a name tag flapping against the storm. Nolan Graves. My breath caught. The doctor who signed my death certificate. The medical director who declared my mother unstable. Arrested on camera. The room went silent. And then applause erupted, not from the viewers, but from the agents. This, the lead agent said, eyes locked on me, is the break in the case. I exhaled hard, but there was a cost. They escorted Joanna and me outside into the swirling Chicago snow. lights flashing. Reporters crowded. Shouts. Flashbulbs. Somewhere in the chaos, my phone buzzed again. A new text. One line. They don't need you dead, just childless. I stared at it. Cold wind whipping. And I remembered. Power isn't about survival. It's about reclaiming what they stole. Because tonight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I woke before dawn. Snow fell in grand sheets outside my penthouse window, dazzling white against a city still half asleep. Chicago was quiet. Too quiet. Behind me, Nova stirred in her crib. Her tiny feet kicked against the blankets. I didn't move. Not yet. There was an unfinished war to finish. The courtroom was packed. Cold air. Hot lights. Reporters crowded the hall like vultures in church. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. Not when every stare felt like a demand. Not when every flash was another thunderclap. I stood before the judge. Steel in my veins. "Ms. Harrow," he said, voice oddly calm, "you will hear the motion against you." I didn't hear the words. I saw only Nova's face. Tiny. Vulnerable. This was bigger than inheritance. Bigger than betrayal. It was survival. I spoke first. "Your Honor, I stand here accused of instability, of putting my child at risk. Yet every move I've made has been to protect her from people who declared me legally dead." I paused. 2 words reverberated in the room, like struck steel. For profit. That's what they said about my mother once. Profit over truth. Profit over sanity. Profit over humanity. I quoted something once said in a lecture I barely remembered. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's walking forward despite it. I wasn't fearless, just relentless. Outside, the prosecutor clicked through a folder of evidence. Emails, bank transfers, custody motions filed from Harrow legal offices, even Dr. Graves' own notes, trying to justify my death as necessary. I watched the judge's face tighten. Then a curveball. The prosecutor's voice cracked. "Your Honor, new evidence." He paused. "From the FBI." Head snapped. My pulse thumped in my ears. The door behind us opened. Federal agents stepped in. One held a sealed envelope. "Chain of custody confirmed," he said. The room shifted. He extended the folder to the judge. Recorded confessions, intent to manipulate inheritance for financial gain, custody coercion, and conspiracy to fabricate medical records. A collective gasp. I looked at Joanna, seated near the back. She nodded once. Eyes sharp. Not relief. Just focus. The judge exhaled and ruled. "Ms. Harrow, full custody is reinstated. All motions against you are dismissed. Additionally, this court orders immediate federal review of all Harrow family legal practices." Relief washed through me, warm and shocking, but it wasn't over. Not yet, because the world was watching. Every channel, every screen, live footage of Dr. Graves in cuffs. Marla Harrow refusing an interview. Ariella's eyes red, no lipstick left. And then, a familiar luxury sedan pulling up outside. Harrow Ridge. Flashing lights. A convoy. Istut, holding Nova. And the judge said 4 words that made it all real. Court is adjourned. Camera flashes ignited. Reporters shouted questions. But one stood out. A voice calm and direct. "Ms. Harrow, is this the end of your fight?" I looked down at Nova. Her tiny hand wrapped around my finger. I whispered, loud enough for the microphones. "This isn't just my fight. It's every parent who's ever been told they're nothing. Every child silenced. Every truth buried. We rise." Later, alone in the hallway, a news ticker scrolled. Harrow family empire under federal investigation. Custody battle ends in major legal precedent. Blizzard Queen. Celeste Harrow's legacy begins. I didn't watch it all. I turned off the screen. Nova Yavnid. tiny lips trembling. I realized something. I wasn't just her mother. I was proof. Proof that even when you're buried in snow, even when you're written off, you can rise. In the limo ride back to the penthouse, Nova asleep on my chest, I whispered, "We don't just survive storms, we become them." The city lights blurred outside, men and women rushing past their own battles. And somewhere in the noise, I heard a phrase I didn't expect to believe when this all began. A queen is not crowned in comfort, only in fire. I squeezed Nova's hand. Strong. Steady. A future no one could erase. At the penthouse, Joanna waited. No celebración. Just a small smile. "She's safe," she said simply. Yes, I breathed. Now we build. And that was the final twist. Turning victory into purpose. 2 months later, the Nova Hero Foundation launched. Shelters, legal aid, support for parents with unjust custody battles. Thousands stood behind us. Letters poured in. Stories of survival. Stories like mine. Not unique in pain, but unique in persistence. One night, I tucked Nova into her crib. She reached for me, sleepy eyes wide. I kissed her forehead. "Your story was written in snow," I whispered. "But your life? That's written in fire." I walked to the window. Chicago's skyline lit like embers. And I finally understood the deeper truth of everything I'd endured. Justice isn't about breaking others. It's about rebuilding worlds they tried to destroy. I turned away from the lights and watched my daughter sleep. Safe, loved, unstoppable.